I'm Tom from DIY Life Tech, and this is a look at using my Foodcycler from Vitamix, which I've got over here, to recycle an entire container of sugar snap peas. And this is just a good example of, if you have some vegetables that went bad. Unfortunately, these got a little moldy, a little mushy in here before I was able to eat them. Instead of throwing these away, I can actually recycle them using the Foodcycler in about 4 to 6 hours, turn them into fertilizer that I can then put in my garden. And these will not go to waste ultimately. So again, I've got this thing of expired produce. I'm gonna go ahead and put it over here for a sec, and then I'm gonna open up the Foodcycler. I've got my container on the inside. This is removable. I find it easier to just bring the food to it than to try to take this container out every time. I'm just gonna pour all of these in. And this is not anywhere close to the fill line. The fill line is along here, so we've got plenty of room in there. Probably won't take the full 6 hours. It can take as long as 8 if you fill it up completely. Then we're gonna go ahead and put this lid back on. So I'm trying to align the arrow here with this arrow so that I can put the lid on and then lock it into place. Actually, sorry, I messed that up. The arrow goes here with this little lock, and then we're just gonna go ahead and slide this over, make sure it's fully locked in place there. And then very simple, we're just gonna press the button on here to get it going. It's gonna dry those out, it's gonna grind them up, and then it's gonna cool everything down, and then we'll have some fertilizer. And again, for 6 hours, I would say. I'm gonna budget for this one. We'll see exactly how long it takes. We're about 2 hours in now. You can see it's moved on to the grinding mode. And I'll be quiet for a second. You can really tell it's not that loud. The Foodcycler really is pretty quiet. You could easily have this in your kitchen. I have mine out in the garage, but it's gonna discharge any heat out the back here. So just wanna leave enough clearance, but this is overall working great. And let's check back in when it has finished the cycle here. Okay, so this has finished its whole process. The lights are off. It's cooled down, and let's go ahead and see what we ended up with here. Just open up this, and there's what happened to all of those peas. And you can see they've been reduced down to this almost soil-like kind of fertilizer. And if you put in more than one type of item, you'll get more of a mixture of different kinds of nutrients, and it's going to look more like soil. But here we've got kind of a greenish soil is what we've ended up with. You can see it's really amazing once it's been dehydrated and ground up, how much this reduces the volume. So it really becomes this very concentrated kind of soil amendment. And so we're just gonna take the top off here. You can see you can just lift this whole thing out. And then my next step is to take this out to the garden. You can actually age it for about 7 days is ideal, or as I'm gonna do, you can put it into a new planter and let it sort of be out there before you start to put plants in. So here's my actual planter. And as I mentioned, I like to use this to sort of augment soil and build it up before I actually plant here. So I've got my my soil amendment I've created with the Vitamix Foodcycler. I'm just gonna pour this in, and then I'm gonna just take a trowel and kind of dig this into the soil. And again, as I water this and let it sit, and I do this with multiple loads of different kinds of items, it really builds up the soil and works a lot of nutrients in, just as if I was putting in compost. And I like to bury it, pretty deep in here, get it all mixed in. And over time, again, I'll process other things with the Foodcycler. I'll add them into this mixture. And after, a couple of weeks of doing this pretty consistently, this is going to be, quite a good amended soil ready for me to plant plants that are going to really thrive in it. So that's a good way to use your Vitamix Foodcycler, and I find it works really great in my own garden here. Thanks again to Vitamix. They originally gave me the Foodcycler to try out. I've been using it for over a year now, and it's really been a great product for me.